It is the 35th millennium. The God Emperor has sat broken upon the golden throne, ruler of man on holy terror since the betrayal of his sons. The world of men has shaken, trembled, and decayed in his absence. The high lords of terror fight a never-ending war, rife with infighting, betrayal, and grave existential threats. For as ever the dark comes, beasts, traitors, xenos, and foulness beyond mortal keen seek to undo the living, and creatures from the outer dark devour all in their path. Mortals do battle with the deathless at every turn. Upon these savage times, the greatest of the Emperor's creations, the Adeptus Astartes, do battle with all of this, and more alongside normal men from the Astra Militarum, whose bravest wade into death's embrace with no fear. Courage and bravery are still found in man. Its light fades, but is not broken. The ever-shifting, dangerous warp tides, upon which the mighty vessels of the Navis Imperialis travel, leak the reeking taint of corruption, must be navigated between solar systems. Travel in this cursed realm is the pockmarked bedrock upon which the Imperium stands. The secret forges of innovation never cool. You are Thelon, a Mago technician aboard the private sleeper ship Invictus Aeternum, orbiting the gas giant of Gorgona in the Mechanicus-controlled Horologium sector, beneath the colossal shadow of Archmagos Belisarius Cawl, one of the Imperium's most revered and brilliant minds. Your job is to oversee the assembly of the latest weaponry for the Adeptus Astartes, the Primaris plasma pistols, a position of much prestige and many complex duties. These weapons, marvels of destructive power, are intended for the hands of the newly created Primaris Space Marines, warriors designed to be superior to their predecessors in every conceivable way. Yet, as you navigate the labyrinthine corridors of the sleeper ship, carrying the burden of your recent discovery, the weight of the Imperium's future feels like it rests squarely on your shoulders. During a routine verification of the plasma pistol schematics, you noticed an anomaly, an inefficiency in the cooling mechanisms that could lead to catastrophic overheating during prolonged battles. Your simulations show irrefutable evidence that continued use could potentially endanger the wielders, turning these weapons of salvation into heralds of doom. The data pads in your trembling hands contain the damning calculations. A mistake in the design, one so fundamental, it threatens to unravel a millennium of effort and resources dedicated to the supremacy of the Primaris Marines. The implications of this are staggering. Not only the logistical nightmare of halting production and recalling countless weapons, but the political and reputational fallout that would inevitably follow. How could the great Archmagos Cawl, a paragon of the machine god's will, err so grievously? You pause at the entrance to the Archmagos' sanctum, the heart of the sleeper ship's research and development wing. Here, surrounded by the hum of servo skulls and the omnipresent glow of sacred cogitators, you must make a choice. The teachings of the cult Mechanicus hold that knowledge is the supreme manifestation of divinity, yet revealing this flaw could brand you a heretic, an accuser of a near-divine figure within the Imperium. Silence, on the other hand, could lead to the deaths of countless warriors, a burden you're unsure you could bear. The heavy door before you seems to pulsate with a foreboding energy, as if it too senses the pivotal nature of your next actions. With a deep breath drawn from reservoirs of courage you didn't know you possessed, you step forward to face your destiny. Inside, Archmagos Cawl, surrounded by auras of data and machine, awaits. You clutch the data pads tighter. The truth must be told for the sake of the Imperium and all who serve it. As you prepare to speak, you remind yourself of the tenet that has been drilled into every servant of the Mechanicus. In the face of all adversity, the mission of the machine is paramount. With this in mind, you begin to reveal the flaw, knowing that the path you choose might lead to your undoing or to the salvation of many. Thelon stands before Archmagos Belisarius Cawl, the din of the sanctum's machinery, a steady chorus behind him. With every ounce of his resolve mustered, he begins, his voice steady despite the gravity of his message. Magos, I am Technician Thelon Skaston Ravalotra Arapanthea of Mars, Helix Code 2287-379B, in charge of Primaris Plasma Pistol Production Line Alpha. I bring you grave news. He pauses, ensuring he has the full attention of the Archmagos, whose piercing gaze now fixes upon him. I have discovered a fault in the charging coil's main assembly connectors, detailing a catastrophic overload pattern if used in vacuum conditions. Thielen continues, his words measured, the technical details ready to spill forth from his lips. The weapon is capable of a far greater firing rate than its heat dissipation in a vacuum can handle. It would require a cubic doubling of the size of the cooling coil in order to dissipate sufficient heat and prevent overload and detonation. The sanctum is silent, save for the soft hum of data streams and the distant echoes of the forge's ceaseless work. The weight of the revelation hangs heavily in the air. Thielen watches as Cawl processes the information, the Archmagos' face a mask of contemplative steel. Cawl steps closer, his mechanical augmentations whirring softly as he moves. "You have done well to bring this to me, technician," he says after a moment, his voice resonant with the power of his position and intellect. "Such an oversight could have cost us dearly in both resources and lives. We must address this immediately." Relief washes over Thielen, though he remains tense, aware of the myriad steps that will follow: revisions, recalibrations, and perhaps the overseeing of a corrected production line. The Archmagos' acknowledgement of the issue, however, assures him that the path of honesty and duty was the right choice. "Prepare a detailed report with your proposed modifications," Cawl commands, turning back to his work. "We will need to convene a council to discuss the implementation of your changes across all production lines. The efficiency of the Imperium's arsenal allows for no compromise." With a final nod, Thielen turns to leave, his mind already racing through the necessary calculations and the implications of his findings. As he steps back into the corridors of Invictus Aeternum, he feels the burden of his earlier anxiety lessen, replaced by the resolve to continue his service to the machine god and the Imperium, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. The implications of Thielen's discovery ripple outwards, affecting far more than just the immediate production of plasma pistols. With the necessary changes in the weapon's dimensions, weight distribution, and material composition, the production line must undergo a complete overhaul. The task ahead is daunting: retooling the manufacturing processes, recalibrating assembly lines, and even rethinking the base materials used in production. All these changes will disrupt the output and flow of weaponry to the front lines, where the Imperium's Space Marines face relentless threats. As Thielen prepares the detailed report and modification proposals for Archmagos Cawl, he braces for the bureaucratic and technical battles ahead. Each Magos overseeing their respective production lines will need to be convinced of the necessity of these changes. The debates and discussions will be intense and prolonged, as each Magos will be protective of their own resources and wary of undertaking such sweeping modifications without irrefutable justification. Thielen anticipates the complexity of the arguments that will unfold. He will need to demonstrate not only the critical nature of the flaw, but also the viability of his proposed solutions. Convincing his peers will require a blend of technical acumen and political savvy as he navigates the intricate hierarchies and interests of the Mechanicus. Resource allocation will be another fierce battlefield. The materials, time, and energy required for such an extensive overhaul are immense. With the Imperium perpetually at war, every resource is precious, and the reallocation necessary for these changes will be hotly contested. Thielen knows he must argue convincingly that these resources are not merely for the improvement of a weapon, but are crucial for the survival and effectiveness of the Primaris Marines across countless battlefields. In the coming months, as the discussions rage and the retooling begins, Thielen will be at the heart of this storm, guiding the transformation of the plasma pistol production. His commitment to ensuring the weapon performs flawlessly in the dire conditions faced by the Space Marines is unyielding. He is driven by a deep-seated belief in the mission of the Mechanicus and the sacred duty to arm the Emperor's warriors with the finest weapons possible. Throughout this process, Thielen remains vigilant, aware that the outcome will significantly impact the Imperium's ability to wage war. His resolve is fortified by the understanding that his efforts will ultimately lead to a superior arsenal for the Space Marines, ensuring their continued supremacy in the galaxy's darkest corners. The journey will be arduous and fraught with challenges, but Thielen is prepared to fight for every inch of progress, knowing the fate of countless battles could rest on the integrity of his work. The realization of the necessity to categorize the already produced plasma pistols as Generation 1 hits Thelon with both relief and trepidation. These weapons, while groundbreaking in their capability, will carry the burden of their limitations, a necessary compromise to ensure safety until further improvements can be made. As he mulls over the complexities of retooling for what will inevitably become Generation 2, Thelon acknowledges that this next phase will bring its own set of challenges. The expanded cooling block necessary to fix the overheating issue will undoubtedly affect the pistol's balance and weight distribution, factors critical to the performance and handling by the Primary's Space Marines. Each alteration in design carries the potential for new weaknesses, demanding rigorous testing and perhaps future iterations of design refinements. With a pragmatic approach, Thelon prepares to issue a formal warning for the current plasma pistols in training circulation. The warning will advise reduced firing rates in vacuum environments to prevent the catastrophic overloads his simulations have predicted. This precaution, although a stark reminder of the pistol's imperfections, is crucial for the safety of the Space Marines relying on these weapons in the fields of the future. In his communications to the broader Mechanicus hierarchy under Cawl and to the future frontline commanders of the Space Marines, Thelon emphasizes the temporary nature of these limitations. He assures them that the Mechanicus is devoted to surpassing these early shortcomings and is already laying the groundwork for a superior version. His transparency and commitment to continuous improvement garner a mix of respect and hate among his peers and the warriors who trust in the Mechanicus for their armaments. Meanwhile, Thelon begins organizing the intricate logistics of the redesign. He collaborates with other Magos, engineers, and materials scientists to forecast the impact of the new design on the weapon's performance. Simulations and field tests are planned to assess every aspect of the modified pistol's functionality, ensuring that no detail is overlooked. Through this arduous process, Thelon is driven by a vision of the future, where Generation 2 plasma pistols become the new standard of excellence, embodying the lethal efficacy and reliability demanded by the Imperium's finest warriors. Despite the inherent challenges and the ongoing debates within the Mechanicus, his focus remains unwavering. Each step forward is a step towards perfection, guided by the divine light of the Omnicia. The journey of innovation and adaptation continues, as inexorable as the march of the Imperium's armies across the stars. After years of relentless effort and ingenuity, the completion of the retooling and the rollout of the Generation 2 Primaris plasma pistols represents a monumental achievement for Thelon. Standing atop the production stack, he watches with a mixture of pride and anticipation as crates of the newly minted weapons are prepared for distribution, a tangible testament to his dedication and the collective prowess of the Mechanicus. However, the sight of his acolyte approaching with a familiar unease twists a knot of apprehension in his stomach. The news that follows, detailing a significant flaw in the new model's performance under desert conditions, strikes Thelon with a harsh reminder that the path of innovation is fraught with unforeseen challenges. As he listens to the acolyte's report of clogged heat dissipation intakes during tests in sandy, arid environments, Thelon feels the weight of responsibility pressing down upon him once more. The problem is serious. In the sprawling theaters of war where the Imperium engages, desert warfare is inevitable. A weapon that fails under such conditions is unacceptable. Gathering his composure, Thelon thanks the acolyte for the diligence and begins to formulate a plan. It's clear that this new challenge will demand yet another cycle of redesign and testing. Thelon understands that admitting this flaw to his superiors and the broader Mechanicus will be difficult, but the safety of the Space Marines and the success of their missions are paramount. In the coming weeks, Thelon organizes a series of meetings with the production team and other Magos to discuss the issue. They brainstorm potential solutions, such as redesigning the intake filters or altering the environmental sealing mechanisms to prevent particulate ingress without compromising the cooling efficiency. Thelon also initiates an enhanced testing protocol that simulates various harsh environmental conditions more rigorously. He pushes for the integration of real-world combat data from Space Marines deployed in similar training environments to guide the modifications. His goal is to not only fix the current flaw, but to refine the weapon's design to prevent similar issues in the future. He is ruthlessly overruled. The Primaris must remain aboard, all conditions, tests, and training simulated. Throughout this process, Thelen maintains open lines of communication with the trainers, ensuring that feedback from the Space Marines who train with and rely on these weapons informs every decision. Their insights on the weapon's weight distribution, heft, and charge capacity have been invaluable, and now their experiences in different simulated combat zones are critical to overcoming this new obstacle. Despite the daunting prospect of yet another round of extensive modifications, Thelen remains committed. His journey is emblematic of the Mechanicus' creed, to strive for perfection in service to the Omnicia and the Imperium. With each challenge, he delves deeper into the intricate dance of innovation, each step driven by a resolve to arm humanity's greatest warriors with the most reliable, effective weaponry possible. Thelen's position within the Mechanicus, working under Archmagos Belisarius-Cawl, indeed places him in a unique echelon of the Adeptus Mechanicus, where the boundaries of innovation are constantly pushed. This environment is not only rare but revolutionary within the context of the broader Mechanicus, where adherence to the sanctity of established technology and the repudiation of innovation, labeled as tech heresy, are the norm. Belisarius-Cawl is known for his radical views and methodologies that stand in stark contrast to the traditional dogmas held by most of the Mechanicus. Cawl's pursuit of progress and perfection, often at the edge of what is doctrinally acceptable, provides Thelen with both the privilege and the burden of working at the forefront of technological development. This not only challenges him intellectually, but also places him at a constant risk of censure by his more conservative peers. The freedom to innovate under Cawl's directive comes with an acute awareness of the consequences that such freedom would entail under any other leadership. Traditional mechanites, deeply entrenched in the worship of the Omnicia, typically view any alteration to existing technology as blasphemy, a transgression against the divine complexity of the machine god's designs. In his role, Thelen often finds himself navigating the thin line between groundbreaking enhancement and perceived heresy. Each new design or modification he proposes carries the potential for immense improvement in the Imperium's warfare capabilities, yet also for severe personal and professional repercussions were he not under Cawl's protection. This dynamic creates a paradoxical existence for Thelen and his colleagues. They are at once the pinnacle of Mechanicus' innovative potential and outliers to its foundational principles. The constant pressure to innovate effectively and responsibly under such conditions fosters a rare kind of resilience and creativity. Thelen therefore not only praises but deeply appreciates the unique opportunity to work under Cawl. It is an opportunity to truly contribute to the evolution of the Imperium's technology, and by extension, its ability to prevail across the galaxy. This role emboldens him to continue pushing the limits of what is possible in weapon design and production, always with an eye toward ensuring the Primaris Space Marines are equipped with the best tools to execute their duties, despite the ever-present shadow of the broader Mechanicus' scrutiny. Thelen's mind wanders through the corridors of his past, tracing the stark, transformative moments that shaped his destiny. The stark contrast between the lines on that fateful day of his 16th birthday on the Imperial Hive world, the bustling, desperate queue of Imperial Guard recruits versus the grim, foreboding line of those destined for the Mechanicus, remains vivid in his memory. In the Imperial Guard line, the weight of his aged father's stories pressed upon him. Tales of valor, yes, but also of unspeakable loss and relentless warfare. His father, a wizened and weathered veteran, had returned from the front lines a changed man, bearing scars both visible and invisible. His tales were not just of heroism, but of survival against odds that often bordered on the horrific. The nightmares incurred by his father's stories gnawed at his mind. Next to this, the Mechanicus line, though shorter, carried its own daunting presence. It was known for its harsh initiations, its ruthless augmentation process, where flesh was often sacrificed for the sanctity of steel and circuit. The cries and the mechanical drone from that line spoke of a different kind of transformation, one that was not just about fighting, but becoming part of something ancient and arcane, and equal eldritch and macabre. In a moment of youthful audacity, fueled by the desire to escape the shadows cast by his father's harrowing experiences, Thelen seized an opportunity. As the lines twisted through a darkened alley for long minutes, momentarily obscuring the watchful eyes of overseers, he stepped from one destiny into another. It was a choice driven by a mix of fear, ambition, and a yearning for a different path. one that might not lead him through the same nightmares his father endured. This decision to join the Mechanicus was the first step on a journey that would take him far from the visceral combats of the Guard to the cerebral challenges of technological mastery and innovation. It was here, in the embrace of the Mechanicus, that Thelon found his calling, not on the battlefield with a rifle, but in the lab and workshop, wielding tools and intellect to forge weapons for the Emperor's armies. His trials under the tutors and knowledge-imparting machinery of the Red Planet, he had struggled, sometimes to win, sometimes to lose, and finally been recruited by Cawl's men on the Red Planet's Machina Schola Ardentra of Thrivsios Major Hive. As he stands amidst the products of his latest labors, the Generation 2C Primaris plasma pistols, Thelon reflects on that pivotal choice. Each weapon, each schematic adjustment, and each innovation is a testament to the path he dared to take. He often wonders about the alternate life that might have been had he stayed in his original line, fighting on distant worlds. Yet he knows too that his impact here, in the sacred halls of the Mechanicus under the tutelage of a figure like Cawl, is profound. His journey is a reminder that sometimes the greatest battles are not fought on fields of war, but in the quiet moments of decision that set us on our paths, and in the relentless pursuit of the work that follows. In this, Thelon finds not just satisfaction, but a deep, resolute pride.